right. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Welcome to another episode of Ask Infinity. I am your host, Jordan Lindo, and today's Infinity is Adam J. Moss, a good friend of mine, actually. I don't quite know how to intro this guy. He's an international man of mystery. He's a sex god. He's a corporate strategist mixed in one. So I'm not sure how these things connect, but we have him here today. And so we're going to have a discussion and see where he takes us. So Adam, thank you for coming on the podcast, man. I know you didn't have to do it. I appreciate that.
Thanks for having me, man. This is always a lot of fun. It's always great to have a conversation with you. And I really think this will be a blessing for all the people that want to hear it, right? You and I have a great dynamic. So I'm happy to get into it.
Dope. Listen, so I want you, from your perspective, to tell us, like, what is it that you are focusing on right now? Because I think, like, as entrepreneurs, we're always developing and evolving and doing new things, starting new things, and letting go of old things. So what is your main focus today? Like, what are you focused on now?
Honestly, that is a difficult question for a lot of people. I think it's really simple for me. I'm focused on being my authentic self, right? I am focused on giving Adam as much as I possibly can so that I can be exactly who I want to be and project myself to the world as exactly that. And that's really been my main focus over the last year, between traveling, building my businesses and everything like that. I took a really large step back from the entrepreneurial space and, doing 60, 80, hours plus a week and just being insanely hustle and grind to now saying, you know what, I need stuff too, right? It's not just about the money. It's not just about giving back. It's not just about serving, because the number one person I wasn't serving was myself. And that's the number one person I should be serving. So when it really comes to what I'm really focused on right now, it's giving back to myself and being authentic while I build my businesses. And that's really helped me to take away from the 60, 80 hours that I was working a week and really diminishing that down to a minimum and utilizing that extra time to do what I love to do, which is, traveling, boarding, swimming, diving, you name it. This is really what I'm focused on right now. And I think it's something that a lot of entrepreneurs have lost in their journey, is to give back to themselves and to serve themselves first.
I'm so happy you said that. Like, and I know that people are listening are probably thinking, man, that's such a cliche answer, but it really isn't. When you're coming from a real place with that answer, it's like most people do get lost in the sauce when they're living this entrepreneurial life. It's like, or even in the corporate world, right? It's so easy to get lost in what it is that you're trying to accomplish that you forget that you have your own needs that you have to take care of as a human being. So thank you for starting the conversation off in that space, because that's like super, super important. But I think what I really want to get started talking on is the good stuff, Adam. I don't want to get this wrong. I call you a sex god because that's how I perceive you. But what is it that you actually do within the realm of men's sexual health? Because that, to me, is one of the most juiciest things that you have to offer.
This is actually a really fun construct, because we actually finally, my partner and I, came up with what we were going to call ourselves actually this week, and we are sexual freedom fighters. So we are taking the world by storm by showcasing that, you know what, all of us got here from the same, process. Two people had to get together. They had to get intimate in order to produce another human being. And yet around the world, we're seeing so much taboo and so many nose turned up at the idea of talking about sex. And a lot of it comes from the self-confidence issues that people are dealing with on a massive level right now worldwide with, social media and the standardized medias that are happening. We really have, a bias towards sex where we're really not recognizing how important it is in our lives. And it's not just the physicalities of it, but it's also the energetics, the metaphysical, the emotional, the spiritual, all those tie into one. And intimacy being at the very top of it all is really powerful for human beings. And so what we're trying to do is we're battling this whole media sensation of, let's not talk about sex, when realistically in the world, we're having more sex than we've ever had. You know, there's more people being born on a regular basis. You know, the amount of pornography that's taken in has never been higher. And it's like, it shows you that we really are a sexual generation, that we are on the cusp of a sexual revolution, that we're just not honoring. So that is one thing that we've really been excited to give to this world is, you know, the sexual freedom, so that people start having these conversations that, you know, why can we not talk about, you know, sex around the dinner table? Why is it one of those things that we don't discuss? Because it makes people uncomfortable. But in this realm, you know, you want to talk about cliche, everyone's talking about, you know, get out of your comfort zone. There you go. There you go right there, because that's the one that nobody wants to talk about. So when you want to talk about the cliche of, you know, getting out of your comfort zone, talk about sex. Let's make it a conversation. So Sexual Freedom Fighter is really where we're at right now. And we're discovering more and more how excited people are to actually have these conversations, because in a big way, especially between a man and a woman, or, you know, two partners that, you know, and that doesn't just have to be man and a woman, two partners that are attracted or possibly could be attracted to each other, they're really afraid to talk about sex, because they think if I have a conversation with somebody I'm attracted to, or somebody I should be attracted to, about sex, they're going to take it the wrong way. So we're really trying to open the dialogue to, let's just have conversations where, you know what, I can have conversations with a female, and it not be me trying to get into her pants. So that's really what we're doing right now. And the freedom fighter aspect just hit us so hard when we realized that's exactly what we're going with right now.
Okay, I want to interject right there, because I think that that's an interesting thing, because that's something that I'm dealing with on a daily basis, a day-to-day basis. Would you say that men and women fundamentally can have platonic friendship?
Absolutely. I think that's something that's so powerful that we're really we're realizing right now, and it's a big one for me. It comes more for me from the male perspective of men need to change the way that we think in a lot of ways, and it's not because of, you know, anything other than how we were brought up, right? Men are brought up not understanding what platonic love is, right? Women are. Right? Women can hold hands with their friends. They cry to their friends. They can have sleepovers. They can sleep in the same bed. They can go to the washroom together. They can create these deep emotional support groups and structures between each other, but men aren't allowed to. Men are, you know, told, don't cry, rub some dirt in it, man up. You know, this almost toxic masculinity is thrown at us from a very, very young age, that we don't learn how to have platonic relationships with men. And then we get into the real world, and on top of that masculinity that we've been shown, we're almost structured to see women as, you know, only sexual beings, only things to conquest and conquer. And that's not the right perspective. We've taken this, you know, old age mentality that no longer works in a modern era, and we're still teaching it to our young men, and we're still teaching it to the male children that are being born. And it's the wrong perspective. You know, one of the most powerful things that I have in my life is I have beautiful, powerful, amazing women around me at all times. And I get constant messages. I get constant conversations about, oh man, you know, are you hitting that? And it's like, no, that has never even come into my space. And a main thing for that is that when I meet a woman, my ideal with that woman is to create a platonic relationship. If that turns sexual, if that turns romantic, if we find intimacy in that, that's beautiful. But for me, most times I'm actually looking for the number one reason to not have sex with her, to not create that intimacy, to not create that relationship, right? That's what I'm looking for first. And then based on that, I can establish a beautiful platonic relationship that where attraction isn't an issue and isn't a resistance within that relationship.
See, I like where you went with that, because most people look at it like black and white, where it's like, yes, you can be friends with a woman and sex not be involved, but they don't honor the fact that it's a possibility. And I think that that's important. Is okay, we can be platonic friends with women, that's great, but where is there room for that to move and for that to evolve? That to me was so important, because I think and maybe you can chime in where you think I'm wrong here, but as men, I'm about to say some misogynistic comment.
Let's have the conversation. Let's have a real conversation.
as men, right, I really do believe that there are things that we need to have as building blocks, and they're not the same as what women have. I think that there's fundamental differences between us, and one of those fundamental differences is, man, this is really hard to say, man, but it's like the need to experience women in a very specific way. That's the nicest way I can put it. And part of that need to experience women in a specific way is um, indulging in sexual activity. Now, what I'm saying is we can definitely curb that, but I think a lot of people they misunderstand that that is a fundamental need for men, and they don't acknowledge that that is, it's not going anywhere. We're not meant to evolve out of that. I don't think, personally. I don't think we're meant to evolve out of that. But I think the next level of evolution is how do we balance that need, right? With oh, I think we lost. Oh, his internet is not the greatest. He's in BC. So I'm gonna give him a second, guys, to come back. Hopefully my comment wasn't too harsh. Maybe I went too deep. I got too real. Oh my God. I'm gonna give him a few minutes. He should have the link to get back in. So we're just gonna hang out, just me and you, I guess. It's gonna be a monologue. I gotta remember what I was gonna say, so when he comes back, I can repeat it. Okay, I got it. I guess I'll just play some Jeopardy music here and speed it up. Oh, he's back.
Jordan.
Yo.
No, our fucking whole internet went just down here at the house.
You know what's funny? I thought that I was saying such a controversial thing that you just ended the call.
No, fuck. We were so good. Shit. Can you cut that in and out?
I want you to understand that my podcast, it doesn't, it's like the Seinfeld of podcasts. It doesn't stop. This is all part of the process, like all of this. You don't got to be like, oh, technical issues. It doesn't exist. So yeah, back to what I was saying. Yeah, I think that there's this fundamental need. And I think that's why we compare men to animals like lions in the kingdom, because it's the easiest way to reference what we're trying to communicate. And that is like, if you have a need to eat, right, as a lion, you don't try to domesticate that out of the lion, because then you don't have a lion anymore. You don't. And I think that's what kind of, and this is what I'm getting, and just feel free to push back, but I feel like in today's world, we get a lot of people trying to domesticate men. And part of that domestication looks like, it's okay, be friends with women, blah, 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 XYZ. Now, people will probably be upset right here because they're not gonna wait for me to finish my thought. And that's okay, that's part of conversations. But what I'm really getting at is, I think men and women can be friends, but that comes with the sacrifice. I really do believe it comes with the sacrifice, and we have to call it like it is. If you domesticate a lion, that there's a sacrifice there. It's not really a lion anymore. It may look like a lion, but it's not really a lion. And so it's like, I think we have to acknowledge that. And I don't want to make it seem like men being friends with women is like, men being completely neutered, because that's not what it is. But it's along those lines. It's along those lines. And men have to be able to navigate that with self-awareness, right? Because the second that, for me, friendship means, if we're talking about platonic friendship, no sex at all, that means I'm looking at you where we have things in common, and that's the reason that we connect. How many of those relationships do you honestly have, Adam?
Oh God. I mean, my relationships are are very much like a ripple out, right? You have multiple different circles as they go out, right? So obviously you have my most intermediate circle, which is me and my partner. So Nyla and I, right? So Nyla and I have the most beautiful non-intimate relationship I've ever created. We have stayed in the same room for long periods of time. We've slept in the same bed. Everything that two people can be as close as possible. You know, we talk about the fact that she is my life partner. We are life partners who have sex and masturbate in different bedrooms. So that is my most intermediate circle. Nyla
Hold on,
is,
I gotta stop you there. I'm
okay.
sorry, I was trying not to stop you. How many of those relationships do you have with women that you have not slept with at all?
I have far more than ones I have slept with. So I have never slept with Nyla. Within my next immediate circle of friends, I have never slept with the women in there. My next immediate circle of more friendship / acquaintances, still have never slept with any of the women there. And then I have my more acquaintances, which I have slept with, many of them. But my close intermediate circles, actually, one I have had one sexual experience with once, the very first day that we met. And we realized that the sexual relationship that we were trying to create wouldn't happen, and that it was just not the best experience. So we've now spent the last couple of years being just purely friends, with no sexual nature to our relationship at all. So yeah, when it comes to those circles, I mean, really, other than my acquaintance circle, which is very, very large, within the inner circles, there's only one relationship I have that I have slept with somebody.
Okay. So I need my listeners to understand something. Adam is the exception to the rule.
No, I'm the next level of the rule.
Sorry, say that one more time.
I am the next level of the rule.
You're the next. You are what we are striving to be.
Yes.
So my question to you is, what did your journey to this look like? When did you make the transition from, oh my goodness, this is a beautiful woman, I actually want to be intimate with this woman, to, oh my God, this is a beautiful woman, I want to be friends with this woman, and maybe potentially intimacy can come later, but right now I just want to specifically be her friend. Mm-hmm. And I have an even deeper question.
Yes.
If you are friends with this type of woman, does that mean that you don't have sexual feelings for her?
Okay, so when it comes to that, what I'm looking for in sex, so throughout my 20s, massive amount of sexual relationships, right? I had, one night stands, casual relationships, polyamorous relationships. I went through the BDSM lifestyle, even, the vampiric lifestyles. I went through a lot of different sexual lifestyles and a massive amount of partners. And what I realized kind of ending to the end of my 20s is that I was looking for something more than just a physical experience, right? I was looking for connectivity. So because I shifted what I'm looking for in sex, my ability to have sexual relationships with women went through the roof, right? Now the sex is 100 times better than what it was, because instead of just having a physical experience, I'm having a mental and spiritual experience with these women. So what I actually started looking for is I got a lot more picky on my partners. I wasn't just looking for somebody who was attractive that I just wanted to have sex with once, twice, maybe a dozen times, and then, end the relationship. I was looking for people that I could truly, truly connect with. And that was where things really shifted for me. And being able to decide what I want for platonic relationships. So what I actually do is when I meet a new woman in my life, I'm looking for that connection. And if I don't find it, or more importantly, I find things that I'm not looking for, then I know I don't want to create that and establish that type of connection, right? So that's really what I found is that, when I meet somebody, let's take Nyla, for example. Nyla is a beautiful, dark-skinned woman. There's lots of attractive qualities about her. But when I first met her, I knew she had a daughter. So for me to make the connection with somebody that has a child wasn't something I was interested in. And that has actually worked to my favor many, many times, right? Because it's not somebody that I want to create something with in that level. Why? Because I don't want children of my own, right? And when it comes to children in a relationship, if you're going to get into that, you need to understand that the relationship will not ever be the priority. You will never be the priority to somebody who has children before you. That child has to be the priority. And you need to take your ego and you need to have the, understanding and respect for that person to know that you'll never be a priority. And so that right there was one reason that I could step out of that realm. And there's lots of different reasons, right? If somebody doesn't align with what I want in my future, then our connection is not going to be as deep. So that's exactly what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that deep connection when it comes to the sexual realm. If it's not there, then I understand that the path that me and this other person are supposed to take is supposed to be platonic. Now, where I think a lot of guys don't understand the value in platonic love is that you then step into a creative state, right? Everything that we develop between two people is in a creative state, right? You can have a business partner you create an empire with. You can have, a wife that you create a family with, and there's so many different dynamics. So you need to decide which dynamic you really want. Now, when you take away the sexual dynamic, you open up all the other possibilities, right? So that was what was powerful for me, is that I started connecting with these women that I didn't want to have a sexual connection with, is even if they were attractive, even if they were beautiful, I didn't want to create that connection with. So I was able to create other values and other aspects of my life. So in the healing aspect of my life and healing my traumas, I have a lot of female friends that are healers and stuff like that I work with, and I have, a beautiful relationship with. That helps me in that part of my life. Obviously Nyla being my business partner, my life partner, we get to create businesses and that together, and we get to grow the value of our lives together, and we get to go on this mission. And that has worked for my favor in so many different ways. So where I may give up the sexual aspect, when you're talking about the lion, yeah, sure, I may give up that aspect there, but I can gain so many other values in my life without having the construct of sexual desire there to either shift my focus, distract us, or to create a more complicated situation. And you and I both know, and I think a lot of men that are listening to this and a lot of women that are listening to this will understand that sex can complicate a relationship, right? Especially if one feels one way and another person feels another. You can get into a sexual relationship with somebody. And I mean, this isn't just a male-female thing, but I'm always going to talk from the mainly straight to male perspective of, that aspect, because that's what I know, right? So I'm attracted mostly to women. I'm attracted a little bit to men, but we'll keep on the female conversation because, that's really what's going to be the easiest for me to have conversations about. But these dynamics really work in all aspects, whether you're gay, straight, bisexual, whatever you are. It really plays out the same way. So in understanding that, I get to create new dynamics within my life and different levels of dynamics that aren't just sexual. So that's really where we're becoming a new level of human being. And this is just something that men are just starting to learn, but women have known for very, very long time.
Bro, you said it brilliantly, man. You just went in. That was a sermon, because what I'm hearing you say is, and this is beautiful, man, is that men have to realize, number one, how to prioritize the value that a woman brings.
Yes.
That is like, because that to me is at the core of the issue, is if you don't have enough women friends in your life, it's because, number one, you're not sexually satisfied. And number two is you don't understand the value that a woman brings beyond sex.
Yes.
And that's a big mistake to make. But there was something else you said that I wanted to chime in on. Damn, you said so many good things.
I'm preaching today, brother. I'm preaching.
Yeah, god damn. What did you say? Oh man, I'm gonna have to cut you off some of these times because you just say some good things, man. It'll come back to me if it's important. Let's move on, man. That was great. Thank you for sharing that, man, and for being so transparent with that.
So if I could add, I'll add another little level to this because I think it's really important to talk about too. Is where we stand, we are shifting as a species, right? We have shifted from Neanderthals that were still connected to the earth and now we're becoming more energetic, more aware beings as we go along. And whatever, you may or may not believe in life, the truth is we are becoming connected to something that's not the earth. We are becoming more disconnected from the earth, more connected to something higher, right? We're looking to the stars, we're dreaming. These are things that animals can't do. So to put us in the perspective that, a lion needs to, get some action, but that's because the lion understands procreation, right? It needs to procreate. That's its desire. Human beings, we need to procreate absolutely to keep us going on, but we can do other things. We can dream, we have an understanding of our own mortality. This is something that animals do not have. And in this right, as we've evolved specifically in the last 200 years, men, we have run this game on cunning and strength the whole time, right? Where, cunning and brawn and our muscles is what's kept us there. It's what made us hunters. It's what's made us great in business. All these different developments. The thing is that the world is now shifting, right? We're becoming more emotional, intellect, those kinds of things are now running the world where brawn no longer is. And men, we created a world that basically emasculated us, right? Because cunning is no longer useful, right? If I catch you being cunning to me, I'm not going to respect you as a person. I'm not going to do business with you. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do that. You're not going to be my friend, right? If I find you being cunning towards me, right? And also too, we've replaced our brawn with machines, right? So myself, my background as a welder, before I got into business, I watched my jobs being taken away by machines. And it was, men creating these machines that took away our capacity. And we're not evolving beyond the cunning and the brawn, which is what we need to do right now. So, we've emasculated ourselves by creating this world to make things easier for us. But now we're finding it more intellectually and more emotionally difficult, where women are, ahead of the game in that. They're very connected. They're very emotional beings. They're very intellectually intelligent beings. Because where men were out there hunting, throwing spears, or building stuff, women were connecting. Women were creating support. They were creating platonic relationships. So now the world is run on that, and men, a lot of us are really far behind. So we really do need to pull away from that animalistic type of conversation or thought process and realize that that's not what we are anymore. We are human beings. We are a cut away from everything else that are in the ecosystems. We're the outlier when it comes to the ecosystems. When you look at an ecosystem, we don't belong anymore, right? Instead of living with the world, we create the world around us. And that puts us at a different level than everything else. So we can't act like we used to in order to get to where we need to go.
Okay, so let me ask you this, because what you just said was very interesting. Okay, so what does masculinity mean to you, and what role does masculinity play in today's world?
Well, everything, masculine and the feminine, they're energies. Like, we can't just look at it as, if you have a penis, you're masculine. If you have a vagina, you're feminine. No, they're more energies. They're more personality traits than they are biological identifiers like we used to use them as, right? So if you look at the masculine and the feminine as energies instead of identifiers, you'll get a lot further in this world, and you'll start to understand how the actual whole universe in itself works, right? You need the balance, right?
But isn't it fair to say that if you have a penis, you have more of a capacity for masculine energy?
Sure, but I know a lot of feminine guys, and I know a lot of masculine women.
Of course, I mean, there's always exceptions to any rule, but I mean, if we're just looking for a baseline, right? Can we say that if you have a penis, the chances are your capacity for masculine energy is higher? And if you have a vagina, then potentially your capacity for feminine energy is higher.
From a very basic state, yes. From maybe a childlike to a adolescent stage, sure. But what we're seeing more and more around the world is we're finding a balance. We're actually finding that men and women are more interested in finding a balance between their two energies. Look at it as a spectrum, right? As a male, you'll fall somewhere on the spectrum. Maybe, yeah, you'll start out a little bit more on the masculine side, but you can find a balance between the masculine and the feminine. Right? You can have that, you fall somewhere on that scale, and all of us do. And I think that if you put all of us on that scale as, little dots across this line of the spectrum of masculine and feminine, you know what you're going to find? You're going to find a balance, right? Because the whole universe is built on a balance. So you're going to have males and females all somewhere on that scale, but when you add us all together, we come up with a balance that allows this world to work, right? So looking at it as males are masculine, females are feminine is no longer the construct that we can utilize. Yes, you may start out at one end of the spectrum or the other, but if your desire is to find a balance, which is exactly what we all need to do, right? The lion and the lioness, they have their balance, right? So when you find that balance, you'll find a better world out of that. So yes, you will have a higher capacity, I would say, or not even a higher capacity, because I believe our capacities are all equal. You'll have a better chance, I would just go with that one, of being on the more masculine side as a male, but you can shift that at any given point. To think that we're trapped there, that we're stuck there, would remove the capacity that we have for human beings.
Okay, interesting. So, because I really asked that because you said something along the lines of the role of men is changing because of technology, and so what I'm really getting at is if technology is shifting the role that men have in society, what role do you think men should have in today's society in an technological evolved world?
Well, that would depend on the male. That is completely our prerogative. Like, as we've come to understand and be more aware of the world around us and have an understanding and the ability to dream, an understanding of our mortality, an understanding of who we are, we now have the ability to choose, right? Which I think is so powerful, and not enough people are taking advantage of that. That we live in a world now where you don't have to be in one place or another. As a male, you can do whatever you want. As a female, you can do whatever you want. So we're given the ability to choose.
Okay, interesting. So, okay, the way that I'm understanding it is, okay, technology's come in, has done a lot. But to me, when I think about a man, I think that the job that we as men have is beyond provision. Like, because technology provides, that's to me one aspect of life. But we have so much more to contribute as men than the ability to provide, in my opinion. And so when I think about being a man, I think about um, you know, raising children, right? I know that's not a big thing for you, but raising children, you need to have that masculine energy in the dynamic, right? And maybe this will be something we could talk about, because can a single mother replace the role of a father? Is it the same? Is it the same having? Because I grew up with a single mom and she was tough.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say is she wasn't a man. She wasn't a man, and if I had a man, I don't know if my life would be the same. And so I'm thinking that maybe being a man is something more subtle than we realize, and something more precious even. Um,
Absolutely.
Beyond energy, because my mom is a very masculine woman.
Yeah.
As you know, Jamaicans a lot of in the Jamaican culture, it's very prominent to have very strong, opinionated, aggressive, assertive woman. And so it's like, is it the same? I don't know. You tell me.
I think when it comes to the biological aspect of it, it's not the same at all. Like, a man raising a woman, a young girl isn't going to be able to explain the changes that are happening to her body. No different than as she hits the teenage years or goes through puberty. Same thing goes with a man, right? I'm not, my mom isn't going to understand the changes in that my body is going through, the physical aspects of being a male, like my father would, right? So when you look at things like that, absolutely. When it comes to the energetics of it, you can have a balance, right? You can have a mother that is both, masculine and strict, but kind and loving at the same time, bringing both the masculine and the feminine energies, right? So we're really having, two real big conversations there. From the physicality and the biological standpoint, growing up as a male, I had my parents as a divorced, right? And I was with my parents at different times in my life. Now, through my puberty stages, I was with my father, and I was around a lot more males. So that helped me understand. Now, my brother was around females. And I will tell you that the difference in our growth process as men was very, very different, right?
Different how? Because I'm already curious. Different how?
Yeah.
How different?
Well, I mean, when it comes to, I had a better understanding of what was happening in my body. I grew up faster than he did. He was much slower pace than I was. I was pushed into, you know, the role of working and providing and things like that, with the old school mentality as a male, where he wasn't, right? So when you look at how we grew up, I grew up much faster. I grew up as a male much faster, with a very old school mentality. He grew up much slower with more of a feminine new school mentality, right? But that's because as he went through puberty and stuff like that, he didn't have the other men around him to be like, hey man, this is what's happening to you right now. This is what you're going to go through. So he was a very confused young boy, right? Where I was lucky enough to have, or blessed enough to have the, you know, the more male perspective. So it allowed me to understand what was happening to me as I grew through that. So I understood the biology. I understood what I was going through. I understood why I was looking at girls. I understood why, you know, my penis was now all of a sudden working and, you know, supercharged all the time, right? He didn't have those explanations because he was surrounded by women that didn't understand, and couldn't explain to him what his body was going through, because unless you've experienced something, you really can't explain it to somebody else, right? Unless you've been an astronaut shot into space, you really can't tell me what G-force is, right? Until you've experienced something, you can't really discuss it with another human being with at least intelligence behind it. So when you look at that aspect, he didn't have that growing up. So his ability to grow into, you know, the man he wanted to become was at a lot slower pace than mine was. So from a biological standpoint, that's really where I see some massive differences.
Thank you for sharing that. Holy shit. Oh my God. That's really what I wanted to dive into. And I'm going to leave it there because we've spoken quite a bit on sexuality and genders and stuff like that. And I want people to know that you're more than that. There's a lot more we could talk about. You know what? Let's really quickly talk about your show. Your show's coming out soon. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that before we move forward?
I'd love to. You know, one day when it comes to the dynamic that Nyla and I have, my partner, she's the visionary and I am more the creative, right? So she's an idealist, I'm a realist. She tells me where she wants us to go, where she sees us going, and I build the plan and the structure in behind it and then make it happen. So where she's thinking point A, B, C, D, and E, I'm working on the points. Okay, how do we get from point A to point B? How do we get from point B to point C? And that's really how we've constructed our businesses and our lives. And one day she felt very pressured because she comes from a Muslim background where sex is not discussed. And she was just finding her, you know, her sexual freedom. She was in a relationship for 7 years and then got out, or 17 years, sorry, and married, and then got out of that just to jump into another relationship that lasted for 18 months. So then when that ended, she, you know, kind of came to me. She's like, I feel like I want to be more expressive. And so at that point, I was really into understanding my connectivity and my sexuality, where I had really shifted the dynamics from being a very, very sexual person through my 20s to actually going through a very decently long period of celibacy, to then getting back into sexuality with a totally different dynamic. So then she said, I really want to release this to the world. At that time, we had met this amazing gentleman who's been working for about the last 15 years, traveling the world, understanding the different modalities of women's sexual health. And we decided we want to put that all together. So we brought a show together that is really discussing the stuff that nobody else really wants to talk about, that is really going to empower women. And then eventually we're going to get into men as well, in really showcasing, you know, how the sexual health of each sex is so powerful, right? And how the anatomy, how the constructs work. And we're really crossing across all the borders of, you know, sex, pleasure, and understanding, so that we can give a full range and full view of the sexual health of individuals. And that includes, you know, everything from orgasms to, you know, just understanding the different hormones and the different chemicals that can be released in the human body, so that, you know, we understand how to play with those chemicals. We understand how to balance them, right? Because again, I'll always come back to balance, right? One thing after another. It doesn't matter what conversation we're coming to, I'll always talk about balance. So it's rebalancing the chemicals and hormones within our bodies to really live at a higher state. And becoming more aware of this is really going to bring so much value to so many people. And what I'm really excited about is, being able to teach men what I've learned, because I was the very first male out of 15 years. This gentleman, I'm the first male he's ever taught, because he never felt comfortable that a male was going to take this information and use it wisely. Right. And that's exactly what I did. I took what he taught me. I've been able to utilize it with different partners that I've had. I've seen unbelievable results in what I've been able to give back to my partners. And I'm really excited to bring that information to other men around the world so that they can have a better, higher sexual experience with their partners.
Okay. Can you give us a snack, of what it is that you're talking about? Just a snip. I know you can't, I know that you have to honor the information and your mentor for handing it to you and putting it into your capable hands. But is there anything that you could give us men in terms of just a tip, a snippet, just so that you just whet our palates? Because I know a lot of people are gonna, or a lot of men, or anyone who identifies as a man who's gonna want to reach out to you and be like, oh, I like what he's doing in this realm. I want to reach out. I want to be a part of that. And so I'm just wondering if you have anything you could share to whet their palate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I could. I think one of the best things that I've really discovered is the power of the female ejaculation is probably my favorite conversation right now, because what it is it's utilizing the lymphatic system. So many men out there, think that, the female ejaculate is urination, which is not at all. Inside of our bodies, we have a lymphatic system, both males and females. Now, men, from what we understand, usually sweat out our lymphatic system. So in the lymphatic fluid those are toxins, that's bad energy, that's buildup, that's stress hormones are mixed in there. And that is stuff that has to get out of us. So men, we always feel really, really good when we sweat, right? We feel really good when our bodies are like put to work. And we also feel a lot less stressed. So we have that. Now, females have this beautiful system within them that actually works to get rid of that. Now, they can do it themselves, but I think it's powerful for men to understand that. Let's say, your partner comes home after the end of a day and she's just had the worst day ever. What if I could show you, within, 10 minutes, how to reorganize her hormones by utilizing the lymphatic system, by giving her a light bodily massage, right? And then the proper, and I mean this in the biggest way, the proper way to actually give her, right, an ejaculation, right? How to actually do that. And what that does is that would completely remove the toxins, that would completely remove the stress, that would realign the chemicals and hormones in her body and completely change her mood. And we all understand that when you give back to your woman, when you give back to your partner, she's going to give back to you 10 times more. That is the beauty of women themselves. When you give to them, they will give back to you, right? You give her your seed, she produces a baby, right? Like, that is exactly what we're going for. So being able to teach men something like that, something so simple that does not take a lot of time. She comes home, baby, I've had the worst day ever. All right, go into the bedroom, lay down, let me take care of you, right? And doing that will provide so much more for you in your life. So just something simple like that that one gets me the most excited. I think that one, the one I have the most fun with, especially because it is a beautiful creation of allowing your woman to just feel that release and completely change the dynamic of her mood, right? Like, no one is ever angry after an ejaculation. No one's having a bad day after ejaculation, no matter whether it's male, females, or whatever. No one's having a bad day after that. So it's really a simple way to completely change the construct of how her day has been and just give her something truly special. So that's something I'm really excited to bring out to gentlemen. And by the way, every woman can have an orgasm. Every woman can have a female ejaculation. It's built into our biology, right? So when you understand that, right, and we can provide you with the proper tools in order to do that, it's going to completely change the way that you have your relationship with your woman.
Bars. So, okay, so can any man learn this? Is it technical? Is it rocket science?
It's not rocket science at all. It is literally not rocket science at all. Any man can learn this. Every woman can be pleasured by it. It's so straightforward. It's just shit that we don't know.
Damn, we got to get this into the PO curriculum. Like, let's go.
Yeah,
This is
and we
important
need to
stuff.
we need to be dropping this stuff like so much more, which is exactly what, you know, my partner and I are doing. We want to bring this information to the world because it is going to make a difference in so many lives. And again, I'll bring it back. We are a sexual generation. We are on the cusp of a sexual revolution. And I just want to take this entire, you know, this entire society and just give it a little bit of a push to just push us over that edge and really have that revolution and understand that, you know, there's so much more to sex than just the physicality of it.
Okay, I want to ask. I'm just channeling a question in right now. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say. Let's see how honest you'll get. What is your biggest fear?
Oh wow, that's an interesting one. I mean, I truly live my life. I truly live my life as facing every fear that I can. Right. I think the biggest fear for me is that society just won't get where we're going. That we're going to be so hell bent on holding on to the past that we're going to stop moving forward. Right now, we are in a place in the world where a shift is happening and it's up to us to decide whether to do it or not. And society as a whole needs to make that jump. I mean, we are in crises all over the world, from financial crisis, housing crisis, food crisis, energy crisis, you know, environmental crisis, sexual crisis, you know, romantic relational crisis. Like, we are in crisis all over the world. And we are so, as a whole, we are afraid to move forward. We are afraid to jump into the next level. And for me, I think the only fear that I really have, and I mean, I'm so bent on doing this. And I mean, with each thing in my life, I have, you know, followed through to the highest level. But in case that I wasn't to this time, I think my biggest fear is that we would lose out on the ability to shift right here, right now, in order to become such a great society. Right. I think that our desire to hang on to the past could stop us from moving forward. And if there's anything I'm scared of, it's the lack of change.
So do you see a direct correlation between this future and the amount of women having orgasms? Is there a connection? I'm just curious.
I think everything has a connection, right? Everything that we do has a connection. And for the most part, what I'm doing, and like what myself and my partner and my other groups and my think tanks and everything like that are working on right now is we're trying to solve as many crises as we can. So where, you know, Nyla and I are concerned, we're working on the relational and sexual crises that we're currently going through that we don't understand. And then we're not talking about, and we're not having this free flow of information. That's where her and I are connected. And then we've also connected to other partnerships and groups where we're working on all of those crises I just talked about. We're working on it as a whole, right? So we are working on projects that are working on the energy crisis, at the same time are working on the housing crisis at the same time. And people are like, oh my God, how do you guys handle all this? Because we're doing it all at once. Right? We're creating something truly special. And, you know, a lot of people are going to see it over the next coming months and coming years, what it is that we're doing, because we've gone at every crisis full force, right? We are working with some of the most amazing people in the world to take on all of the problems that we have, because there's so many people out there that are like, oh, you know, we need to protect the environment. So everybody put your money here. Everyone look at me over here where I'm trying to save the trees, or I'm trying to save the oceans. I'm trying to save this. And then what I also see is a lot of hypocrisy, right? It's like people are showing up to, you know, argue pipelines, but they're showing up in cars, right? It's like, oh, you hate oil, right? But you're showing up in a vehicle that uses, you know, 5 different types of stuff that's made from the earth, right? You're fighting, you know, the plastics in the ocean, but yet every single day you're ripping open plastic wrappers that your food are located in. And there's so much hypocrisy going on when it's like people are just focused on one single thing. What we're doing is, you know, we're focused on creating a new atmosphere and a new design to show people how we can solve all these issues at one time, right? Without the hypocrisy, without the problematics of it, without the ego, without anybody out there saying this issue is more important than this issue, because that just doesn't exist. all the issues that we're dealing with right now are equally as important, and we need to be focusing on all of them. And the only way we're going to do it is together. So that togetherness is so important right now for us to get to that next level. Because if we're only focused on one issue, sure, maybe we solve that issue this during this generation or during this era, but then we still have 10 other issues that we need to solve. So what we need to do is we need to create one space where these issues no longer exist, and then we can showcase that to the world. And that's what we're working on right now. So yes, to answer your question in the shortest way I can, people having orgasms straight up is going to help that.
Okay, so you're solving obviously the sex issue. What other issues are you actively trying to solve?
All the ones I just mentioned. So right now we're working on building a project that is actually going to be is going to be the prototype for how we solve the housing issue, right?
Okay.
How we solve the economic issues that we're currently dealing with by building new economies, how we're working on the energy crisis that we're in right now by providing new ways to use renewable energy in a much more sophisticated manner.
Can you go into that? I'm so sorry to cut you off. Like the energy, I'm so curious. What does that look like?
Well, renewable energy we've had for the last, for quite a while now, but with the influx of R&D that's gone into renewable energies, we're seeing solar energy that uses now almost indestructible solar panels that are getting 80 times the power of the solar panels that we use right now, right? There's so many different things. And the same thing with wind, the same thing with geothermal, same thing with hydroelectric. We're realizing that there are better ways to do this. And now because people are aware of it and the R&D has gone into it, we're now creating sustainable systems that are way better than what we have right now or that we're utilizing, right? And that goes for everything. For the housing crisis, we're finding new ways to build houses that are more efficient, that will last longer, that are actually cheaper than what we currently use, all out of recycled materials, right? That are just basically laying around the earth right now. So there's all these different areas, economics right now. We now have the blockchain, which is a totally new way to understand economics. And we can take that and turn that into a whole new level, because I'm here to tell you what people understand about blockchain right now is only like the tip, very, very tip of the iceberg of what's actually happening, and the kind of stuff that I'm in conversations with in the rooms that I'm entering into, where we're talking about stuff that people wouldn't understand if we laid it out for them completely, right? That's taken years of understanding from these groups and these think tanks in order to bring this to the table. And we're doing this on each level of these crises, because if we can create one prototype that shows how to solve all those issues, we can take all these masses of people that are currently out there fighting for different issues and trying to fight for attention to get the light put on their issue, quote unquote, their issue. We can bring them all under one umbrella, which is exactly where people need to be to start with, right? We need to be working together as a collective, as a group, because the whole world does, the whole universe does. We again are the only outlier in this entire planet, because we don't work with the planet, we create what's around us. So if we're not going to work with the planet, we should at least be working with each other, and then we give back to the planet.
So do you believe in a utopian future?
I don't think I can give you an answer on that right now. I think things really have to see how they play out. I don't believe, like, when it comes to what we are and how we are as people, the idea of a perfect society really isn't going to be there, because you have one outlier that we have that no other creature on this planet really has, which is awareness of emotion. Right? We know animals and we know trees, things like that, they can feel, but they don't have an awareness to how they feel, right? A dog can feel loss of its owner or of its friend, but it doesn't understand why its friend isn't there. It doesn't understand mortality, whereas we do. So we're always going to have that outlier of emotion. So to say that anything is ever going to be perfect, I can't really say that to be true. The idea of a utopian society, I don't know yet. However, I think we can get close, and I think we can do a lot better. I know we can do a lot better than we currently do right now. And it's going to take a collective to do it. And we're going to need to bring the right people together, and we already have. Now we just need more of them. So we need to prove that this works, which we will, and then we can start designing the future.
Okay, awesome. Adam, I have one more question for you, and then I'm going to allow you to plug all your social medias. God damn, I wanted to get more out of you, man. You just have so much to offer.
We can do another one of these, man. We can do another one.
We'll do another one. I got a few more guests lined up, and then I'll get you back. Man. Okay, so this is my final question. I ask all my guests this. Infinity. How do you experience it? What is your experience of infinity? What does infinity mean to you? Go.
Infinity is the necessity of the entire universe, right? It's the torus, right? The infinity symbol itself, that flat two-dimensional symbol that we see, isn't what infinity is. It's just our representation. It's our symbol of it. But if you take that symbol and you spin it every way that you can, you create the torus, right? And the torus is the influx of unlimited energy throughout the universe, right? Magnetic fields are built on it. The entire energetics of the earth and how our orbit works and how our gravitational field works, it's all a torus, right? And we will constantly be in that flux, and it's the perfect balance, right? Everybody looks at, for balance in the earth, they think that balance is a point, is a center point of something. It's not, it's a flow, right? If you look at the center of the infinity, and you move yourself around that infinity symbol in the figure 8, right? You constantly keep hitting the same point. You hit that middle point more than anything, and that's the point of balance, right? And the whole universe is in that construct. Humans are in that construct. Energy is in that construct, and we keep coming back to that balance point. And that's infinity for me, is continuously coming back to balance, and then going out the other way and constantly flowing in that rate. And we will always come back to that center point, and we'll always come back to that balance. How long that takes is completely up to the constructs in which we're discussing the balance point.
Yo, oh my God. Hold on. I gotta do this. And I'm gonna add the bomb sounds later. Oh my God. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Before we get out of here, I wanted to give you an opportunity just to plug your social medias, let people know what whatever you want to bring attention to, throw it in here.
You know what? Just find me on Instagram, guys. Like, you'll see some crazy, wild stuff on there. I truly am a wild child at heart. There really is no designation for who or what I am. I'm just Adam Moss. So, look me up on Instagram, Adam_J_Moss. From there, have a conversation with me, reach out to me, and I'll link you up with anything else you want to know. There's so many things that I'm always working on, because I believe in compounding timeframes. Is how I live my life. So to sit here and be like, I'm working on, this, and this, it'd be too much for most people. So connect with me on what really vibed with you, on what you feel most connected with through this conversation. And then I can point you in the right direction on how we should be connecting. And then to discuss belief just for a second, because I think I have like a minute more here. Belief is everything to me. Right? I believe that every human has the same capacity, whether or not you think you're smarter or dumber, or, whatever, capacity you have in your mind, we all have the same capacity. And it's just how much you believe in what you want to do, right? I believe that every person is capable of anything, right? I truly, truly do, to the deepest part of my hearts. And I believe that we have the capacity to do anything that we desire and we want to do. And it really starts with just understanding that you can do it, right? The second you tell yourself you can't do something, you've completely lost the ability to do what you desire to do. For me, I believe I can do anything. That just comes from a place of belief, not a place of ego, and that's how I'm able to compound timeframes. That's how I'm able to work on so many different projects at a time. And it seems like, my life is all about fun, but it's really, I'm having fun and doing everything I want to do at the same time, because I believe and I know that I can.
Thank you, man. Oh my God, I'm gonna have a really great time editing this episode.
Oh, I can't wait to hear myself talk.
You know what? I think I think that's what we share in common the most. We like to hear ourselves talk, but we have something to say, right? And
Absolutely.
that's the difference. Okay, so in wrapping up, thank you guys for joining us for another episode of Ask Infinity. Again, my today's Infinity's Adam J. Moss. You can find him on Instagram. I'm going to be posting all his social media links as well in the description, so you can just click and connect. He's a very nice guy. Just connect and say hi, and he'll say hi back. So
Absolutely.
thank you, Adam. Enjoy the rest of your day and take care, man. Peace.
Thank
Peace,
you,
peace,
brother.
peace.
Peace.